Welcome to the Pharmacist RN, a podcast made for pharmacists by pharmacists. Pull up a seat and let's get started.
Welcome back, everyone, for another episode of the Pharmacists RN podcast. I'm your host, Ajit Johal, and I'm joined by my esteemed co-host, Dr. John Papasturgio from the East Coast. John, you did an amazing recap of the last episode. We've been talking with Hanson from the Pharmacist Deserve It platform, which is revolutionizing how we do OTC consults. So if you haven't heard those first two episodes, I strongly recommend you go back and listen to them. But John, for those who are jumping in here into episode 3, what have we been talking about? Because it's absolute fire.
You know, before we even get to that, I just wanted to congratulate Hanson. Like when I think about, innovators in the profession of pharmacy, like Jed, I like to think me and you are up there. We're pretty well known. We do a lot of interesting stuff. There's guys like, you think of both and guys that are very well known in the profession. I gotta say, I never heard of Hanson before we did this show, but when I think about impactful, innovative kind of work, this is something we've been talking about for 30 years, at least since I've been in the profession, and we haven't had a good solution. And now there's this guy named Hanson shows up. He's kind of doing it. I don't know, where are you? In your basement? You started this somewhere, and you really have the potential to change the way pharmacists across Canada practice. And I want to congratulate you on that first, Hanson. And I just get to, the solution. It's so simple in its nature that I find myself wondering, why didn't I think about it, right? But essentially, for pharmacists that have been, since the beginning of time, counseling, on OTC products, there was never any reimbursement mechanism. I mean, we have minor ailments now, but that's something very different. But really on the simple kind of stuff, things like cough and cold, whatever, we've been doing it for free for years. And you've come up with a way that with the support of the manufacturers, pharmacists can register for your service and actually get paid when they do a counseling interaction with a lot of little extra burden on them. A few counseling notes. At the end of, as we were talking about it on the last segment, I registered in literally 2 minutes. So it's a seamless process to get yourself registered, and you're pretty much ready to go. And Hanson, if I hit on it there, if there's anything I missed, add it on like you did last segment.
No, I think you've hit on everything there. I wanted to just say that this is just the beginning for us pharmacists. This has a lot of potential to open up even other streams of revenue for us, not only for OTC counts, but what about follow-ups after they take it home? Is there an ability to figure out how they're being used? Is it effective for them, And this leads me into the most important part, is the data points that this pharmacy platform can have for the manufacturer. This is the only way for a manufacturer to find out who is buying their product and why they're buying their product at the point of sale. There is no other way they can ever have this, because again, the pharmacist is counseling on that product now. They're having an interaction. They're getting information about why this person is here today. And for the manufacturer, that is invaluable, because now that opens up for them to what is working for them. Why did this patient come in? If they see a pattern of why a lot of patients are coming in to purchase their item, then they know this is a really good something that we should be putting more revenue and marketing dollars into, because the patients are telling us this is why they're coming in. So for the manufacturer, I think it is probably for them, it is so important, and there's so much opportunity for them to really use this to their benefit. And again, just one basic, simple thing for them is to make sure that their product is being used properly. Having that patient have success with that product is a lifetime now customer, over the lifetime of and plus their kids and their cousins and whoever they're going to tell about the great experience they had with your product. So you cannot say how the good counseling is just so valuable to companies because, again, they ensure that their product is finally being used in the best way possible, and the patient is going to be getting the best possible response for that product. And then hopefully they're liking it and they tell everyone about it.
I agree. It's next level market research insights for manufacturers. It's also using the most powerful form of marketing and word of mouth among patients. Hanson, the products that are currently on the platform, and there's a decent amount. I think you mentioned there's about 29 products. And if you haven't checked it out, it's pharmacistdeserveit.com. Takes 20 seconds or maybe 2 minutes for you, John, to sign up. And all the products are here. I'm looking at them right now. What has the experience been? I have two questions for you, Hanson. What has the experience been for the products that have been on the platform? That's the first question. And the second one is, what is your wish list of products you would like to have next on the platform?
Oh, wow. Okay. So my experience again has been, again, no manufacturer has left the platform. So they've all stayed upon it. But really the biggest feedback from the manufacturers is that now their ability to really engage with pharmacists and but with or having an incentive already saying like, hey, we signed up for this platform. We respect your time and knowledge, so for the manufacturer and for the pharmacist, now there's a bond there that's being created here, so for the products right now, we have so many pharmacists really looking into like the sub-Q pen needles, for example. That's a really easy one to get into the pharmacy. Everyone's using it for the GLP, Wegovy, Ozempic prescriptions and things like that. So for them, it's just, again, it's Schedule 2. It's behind the counter, so they have an opportunity to counsel on that every single time. And that leads me into like what I really wish, my most wish is for all the diabetic products and the meters to come onto this website and allow the pharmacist to train the patients properly on how to use it, and all the nuances about the strips and the new Dexcom thing, like, all those different things on how to use it, making sure that they're actually being told how to use it properly for the patient. So all the diabetic products, and then lice products, because again, it's a perfect Schedule 2 product. Lice products all benefit from a good counseling on, how to comb out the hair, whether to use it again in 2 weeks, irritation, side effects and things for the kids. So those ones would be all great. But then the holy grail, Tylenol, Advil, 100%, again, like you said, with the side effects, with the liver injury and with the NSAIDs of the kidneys and PPI and acid reflux and ulcer things that could be happening with them. And obviously those are like the two most bought OTC products, probably all in Canada. Those would be my absolute dream come true for having products on the site. But again, like I said in the beginning, I want every single OTC product on here that a pharmacist can counsel upon.
Well, you've definitely showcased a lot of value for products being on here, and even across these short episodes that we've gotten to know you and talk about the product. One thing that really sticks out to me is this whole idea of integration and bundling. So I'm a big fan of bundled care, because if you have someone in front of you, you want to be able to offer them, address all of their healthcare needs. And where I think this platform, in just hearing some of the anecdotes you've been saying, telling us about pharmacists who've been using this platform and how they've been integrating their OTC counseling into other clinical encounters, like, for example, minor ailments or antibiotic dispensing. For example, antibiotic dispensing, avoiding, opportunistic infection with C. diff, right? And you're saying there's a pharmacist that does this every single time they dispense an antibiotic. They're recommending it, and they're getting 30 to 40% uptake because patients understand, obviously, the impact of antibiotics to treat their infection, but also the unfortunate consequence of destroying gut flora. And I remember I used to do this at my family-owned pharmacy, and the challenge was talking to other staff members is what's their incentive, right? If you're an owner, obviously you see that sale, but now that there is this sort of innovative reimbursement model for pharmacists to have these conversations, why wouldn't they be having them? And then, of course, for minor ailments, for uncomplicated UTI, which across BC and other provinces is typically number one in terms of minor ailments, in terms of encounters that pharmacists are seeing, product like Cysto Plus, right? That helps with the pain initially before the antibiotic kicks in. So very cool. I think there's a lot of opportunities, and hopefully a lot of manufacturers will see the value to not only put their products on this platform, because I can see here there's some great teaching points, things I didn't know about certain products because I just don't see them all the time, but also they're building relationship with pharmacists, right? Having that go-to, and you drew another connection with the sub-Q pen needles and things like Ozempic and Wegovy and GLP-1s. So huge opportunity. So I think it's so far beyond the transactional, which you've clearly done very well on the platform, but it just transcends into, honestly, John, like revolutionary.
Yeah,
revolutionary globally.
Absolutely revolutionary. And I wanted to ask, when Hanson, when you present this concept to the manufacturers, like, what's their kind of first impression? Because I just see them all jumping on board. It's just a no-brainer for me. Like, why don't we have more products on? What are their concerns, if any? Because I would think every product would be on this kind of service right now. What's that look like?
Yeah, so for the manufacturers that I've actually been able to talk to and get to a decision maker, they've loved it. They've seen the potential, especially the marketers and things like that. They really see the potential. But for them, it's like, I get them in the wrong time. They have to work it into their budget, and they're not really sure how to work it into their budget. So I give them the ranges of like, this is usually a few $100s, per month is the counseling, and they're just saying it's too early. It's too early. That's what I get a lot of. It's just too early. But once they actually hear the idea, they're all very excited about it. All the manufacturers signed up right now that, they see the counseling points and they see the data and stuff, and it gives them a time now to, when they call up the pharmacist who signed up for the platform, the pharmacist is way more engaged now. They want to actually listen to you. They want to hear your points and things like that, because they understand that you're actually paying them for your time. Again, the platform is there for the manufacturer, for the manufacturer's benefit, because again, they finally get a way for their product actually to be used the best way possible. And again, once the manufacturer actually understands that, then yeah, absolutely, it's going to be a no-brainer for them. But I get caught in the like, it's not the right time because we've already prepared our budget for the entire year. Call us back in 8 months. And I call them back 8 months. I email them, I call them back. Nobody ever gets back to me again. It's like, like I just didn't get them at the right time. The timing is off. So I think that really is what it is. It's just, they haven't heard about it from the right people. Whenever I call into their customer service and I send them the presentation, like, I have no idea who's it going to. And they always tell me the same thing. Like, if they're interested, they'll call you back or they'll email you. And then it's like, I don't hear from them, and there's no other way. I can't get through to the decision makers. The people, the gatekeepers they're too difficult to get through. They don't see the potential. They just see me as another person wanting their time. But I know that if I just get in front of the manufacturer, into the right person, and they see the potential of the platform, then, like you said, John, it's a no-brainer for them to try it out. There's no contract. We operate like a coupon clearinghouse, so there's no contracts. They can leave anytime. So that's why I made it very important for the manufacturer. Anytime you're feeling uncomfortable or you're getting some heat from somewhere, we can have you off the platform in 24 hours. So there's no commitment. You're not locked in for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, nothing like that. I encourage them. I say, just sign up for 1 month, just 1 month, just try it out. But a lot of them say like, that's just not how it works over here.
Well, I think honestly, Hanson, just keep spreading the word. I think the more pharmacists that go on the platform, the better the groundswell, the better the reach. I noticed there's some good education opportunities on here as well. And I think when you're looking at me and John work in the continuing education space, we've been doing so a long time. Actually, John actually paved the way for pharmacist-led education. It was typically physician-driven. A conversation for a different day, John. But
Yeah.
I'm kind of seeing, for example, like Cysto Plus has a webinar, and what better audience than pharmacists on this platform where they can actually apply, right? Knowledge translation is the holy grail, right? We can disseminate knowledge, we can tell pharmacists about the product, but really the rubber hits the road when they're actually using it. So it's a very captive audience. If you keep building that, I think that more manufacturers will have to recognize this as a way that they get a clinician in the loop. You can use that term, where basically their product has a healthcare professional in the loop for the patient who's using this, so they get the best possible experience, best possible outcome.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah, like I think I'm almost as speechless here, Hanson. I think like it's such a no-brainer. And I keep coming back to this. I mean, anything we could do to help kind of move it forward, I think is important. The other part here that, have you thought about how you're going to kind of present some of this? Because I imagine we talked about this last segment. I think you're collecting quite a bit of data. How can we get some of this data out there, show the value of it? It just really, added to the breadth of pharmacists' value that's out there. And I think that's important too, because I think for the first time, you're able to quantify some of this OTC stuff that historically we haven't been able to do outside of, like you said, sales data and whatnot, right?
Yeah, that's right. Again, the possibilities here are endless. If this goes well, this could open up a lot more different revenue streams for a pharmacist. Like, my dream is to have an OTC pharmacist employed by the pharmacy, and they're just there to counsel and on OTC products, and part of this, can be paid for just because they're like, they're using the pharmacy as a way to counsel on products, like more like a hairdresser renting out a chair, pharmacists, OTC traveling pharmacists, they can stock up in one pharmacy and just become the OTC expert for that day, for the patients that come in and something like that.
Actually, Hanson, I want to say this is actually happening, because my brother actually works Relief, and he does a couple of these every month. So it doesn't have to be your staff pharmacist. A lot of times with the current landscape of pharmacists shortage and the workflow, it's becoming harder to retain consistently staff pharmacists. So relief pharmacists are coming in, and obviously there's concerns about continuity of care, etc. But again, if the pharmacist is incentivized externally through this platform, then they will bolt on and do clinical encounters. So I think your dream is already starting to play out, where you're seeing actually relief pharmacists doing these consults at pharmacies that they are providing services in. So I definitely see that happening. The other thing is, like, it's always challenging, and John runs this model as well, where you have the dedicated clinical pharmacists. And I think often with reimbursable clinical services, with the eligibility criteria and the sort of reimbursement model, often that may or may not be lucrative to have a pharmacist full-time, to do that. But this helps to kind of justify that and keep that momentum going and getting pharmacists out of the dispensary in terms of more clinical encounters. So lots and lots of impacts here for this platform.
Hanson, any, like, have you had the experience where you'll say, well, one product's on there, a competitor's not, so the pharmacist is going to recommend the reimbursed product instead of the one that's not reimbursed, even though the one that's not reimbursed may be the more appropriate one because of the reimbursement. I think, we struggle with this whenever we're tied to a product or reimbursement. That's something that always comes up, right? No different than, hey, if a product has a rebate and the pharmacy owner knows that versus one that doesn't, they may, select that one. I don't think it's an issue, because I think most pharmacists have no idea in general about that part of the business. But what do you say to someone that, as this gets bigger, may come back with that?
Of course, and I tell them this, like, the same thing, like, we are open. There's no exclusivity for any brand. Okay, so the first thing we do when we get a product on here, we email the competitors like, hey, This brand is on here giving out counseling fees. You guys should come on here too. I get nothing from them, right? So again, like I said, the goal is to get every single OTC product on here, so there is no conflict of interest. And then if there are competitors that come on here with the exact same active ingredient with the same pack size that do similar things, then we normalize the counseling fee. So it's exactly the same. So there absolutely is no benefit from picking one product over the other. It's exactly the same counseling fee. You just get paid for the counseling, nothing else. And like everyone knows, we have to start somewhere, you know? So as this grows bigger and bigger, I think it will be even less of a problem because all the competitors will be on there and it won't be an issue. They're all getting the same data and everything like that. So I don't see a problem as it gets bigger. But in the short term, yes, there can be a concern for that. But again, we have to start somewhere. We encourage all competitors to come on the platform at any time. And we want that. We want every single counseling OTC product. And when we sign up manufacturers, we tell them there's no exclusivity here. If tomorrow the competitor wants to come in, then we will allow it. Because again, this is about getting pharmacists compensated for the counseling and nothing else. And so again, we're going to move through that. And again, hopefully we do get big enough that it is not a concern because you will see on the platform that all the competitors are on there. And all the counseling fees are the same.
Well, and I appreciate the manufacturers who've committed to the platform to recognize the incredible and powerful role of pharmacists in supporting the safe and appropriate use of their products. So kudos to the ones that are the early adopters, and hopefully we'll get more on there.
Yeah, and Hanson, I really wanted to just again congratulate you. I think this is such an innovative thing. Hopefully we've helped to bring some awareness for anyone listening. www.pharmacistdeserveit.com. Go on, register. It takes 2 seconds. Let's help Hanson push this forward because I think the more of us that are on there, the more value, the more data we provide, the more patients benefit. And I think the more manufacturers are likely to support the program. So I'd love to see this continue to grow. I think it's very complementary to the minor ailment program. I think, again, you've come up with something that's great. I think Steve will probably tag all these episodes with information about how pharmacists can sign up. So it'd be interesting to check back with you, Hanson, maybe in a few months to see, hey, how's it going? Have we helped? Is it grown? And continue to push it forward. But I think with that, it's been a great 3 segments with you. I think I learned a lot. And I encourage again everyone in the audience to participate. Thank you so much for being on.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here. It's been an awesome experience. And again, for all the pharmacists out there, we can do this together. We can get, we can do this and get paid for what we do and finally get respected for our time and knowledge in the profession. So please, everyone sign up. All the manufacturers out there as well. Get on board. Get us on there, get us on your side, and let's do this.
Thanks.
Thanks, Hanson.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Till next time.